Welcome to Shopify Masters, the weekly podcast brought to you by Shopify, your companion for starting and building a business. I'm Shuang Esther Shan, and this week we are chatting with Christian Arnstead, the CEO of Blizzard Capital, an incubator and venture capital firm powering direct-to-consumer brands. He's also a founder himself and an investor on Lion's Den, the Danish version of Shark Tank. In this episode, we get to learn from Christian on how he built and scaled businesses beyond 8 figures, what he looks for when investing in digital-first brands, and how he and his team are incorporating a sustainability mandate in all aspects of running businesses. Before our show, I want to let you know about Shopify Inbox. It's a brand new free sales channel that you can set up right in your admin. With Inbox, you can manage all the customer conversations from your store and social media in one place, plus chat anywhere using the mobile app or on the web. Most importantly, Inbox can help you close sales, since 70% of Shopify Inbox conversations are with customers who are making a purchasing decision. Use the power of chat to turn browsers into buyers. For more information, visit shopify.com/chat. Now let's teleport ourselves to Blizzard Capital's buzzing office in Copenhagen, where this episode was recorded. Christian Arnstead and his team have been building and scaling countless direct-to-consumer brands, from watches to sunglasses, clothing, cosmetics, home decor, and even coffee. It's impossible to ignore the impact that Christian and his team have had on the e-commerce industry. What's even more astounding is the fact that Blizzard Capital only started in 2017, when Christian decided to forge his own path and leave behind a much-admired career in consulting.
Blizzard is founded by me and a couple of partners called Pascal and Vasily. Pascal was an old colleague from my former job in McKinsey. Vasily, he came from an e-commerce company called The Hut Group in the UK. We teamed up some years ago and thought it could be a lot of fun to make a house that helps incubate new consumer brands. So brands that are typically born digitally. Many of them are actually born using the Shopify platform to do their sales on, and then help scale these brands fast. So we have this house, Blizzard, that we have set up to support new brands in the way that we have a tech team that supports them with everything they need on the tech side. We have a paid media team and an agency that supports with everything that's needed on paid media. And then we are also supporting on other functions such as handling logistics globally, and supporting in getting the finances done in the first couple of years, where a founder may have a lot of other tasks as well to handle in the day. So we try to really set up a house with all the different things that you need as a new business.
It's impressive because you guys have also built your own brand, and within a couple of years it's scaled beyond 8 figures. So tell us about the first brand that you built, Nordgreen, and how it all started.
So Nordgreen was one of the first things we started out with. Pascal and Vasily have actually also been using a lot of time in the years following on that brand. It has just been a great ride. It came from the idea that Danish design is known in many countries as high-end design and something aspirational. And then we got an opportunity to work with one of the lead designers who has designed a lot of the collections for the Danish design brand called Bang & Olufsen. And Jacob, he was just an international design star, and being able to do Danish design together with one of the absolute leading Danish and Scandinavian designers was just a very interesting opportunity for us. So we launched this watch brand called Nordgreen together with the work that Jacob did with us. And name Nordgreen stands for Nord is because we are from the northern part of Europe, and the Danish way that you spell Nord or North, so it's N-O-R-D, that's the Danish way of writing that. And then green comes from that the brand is very dedicated to CSR and to making a positive impact in the world. So that was the start there. So it's been a combination of a design story and a CSR story. Yeah, as you said, it got good traction in the third year to be a $8-digit brand. So and it's still growing nicely. So that has been one of the fun journeys that we have been so lucky to be on the last couple of years.
It's amazing that within a few years since 2017, you guys were able to scale so much. What are some, key pivotal decisions or things that you've done that you felt like really contributed to the scaling?
The reason why we are able to work across multiple brands is because we have a strong team on each brand. So every brand has a dedicated leadership that is able to fully run that brand, of course tapping into all the support functions that we have in the house, but there is somebody in charge on each brand. We are working with 15 to 20 brands at any given point in time, typically right now. And that local ownership and leadership is important to us. The world has become very interesting in the sense that with platforms such as your own Shopify, the barrier to entry of starting something has actually become very small. You can start a website with a limited amount of money and a limited amount of resources. But what we have done by making this infrastructure of all of these specialists people available, where you can get a part of a logistics person, you can get a part of a developer that has done 50 previous Shopify stores or something like this. That just means that I think we've been able to help many of the brands that we work with take the right decisions at the right point in time and not having to go on too many detours figuring out how to do things, but being able to apply what they can see some of our other brands are doing. So we are trying also to work with cross-facilitating knowledge between the brands, so every brand is not operating in a silo, but they are able to either by talking by the coffee machine or also in more formal meetings set up for this purpose to discuss what is working for them and what is not working and sharing that knowledge.
So after Nordgreen, where did you guys move to next?
We moved into a sunglass and ski goggles brand called Messy Weekend. Messy Weekend is a challenger to the sunglass industry. They're doing super high quality sunglasses at between $70 to $100 typically, which is below the price that you would normally find for equivalent quality, quite a lot below actually, and also with a vibrant and young brand. So that has been a fun journey as well. Of course, being deep in ski equipment has been a little bit more frictionful during COVID, given that traveling has been more difficult. Unless now Shopify, you're from Canada, so you can ski at home. But for many other countries like Denmark, we don't have mountains, which means customers, they typically buy this before they're going on their ski trip, and people haven't been able to. So we have had some businesses that have been completely not impacted by this period that we went through. We had some that grew and had a boost from it. And then we had other things like ski equipment, which was more challenging.
For sure, yeah. For the whole portfolio, let's talk about what kind of businesses you guys have been helping from the numbers of it and the different industries that they're in.
So we generally like smaller things the most. And the reason why we like that is because our model is typically built on international sales and exports. And shipping big things like a sofa long distance, if it comes out to the customer and then they figure out that to them the color feels differently than what they felt when they looked at the picture, then it's expensive to ship it one way, it's expensive to ship it back. So we prefer smaller things as sort of a criteria of when we look into things. We are in many different categories, so watches, accessories is taking up some. We also have been in home decor, as you mentioned. We are in baby equipment. We have a couple of apparel brands and some apparel brands that are very leading on sustainability. Then we have a ready-to-drink brand here in Denmark. We are part of a coffee brand in the US.
Are there lessons or suggestions you would give for people who are starting to build? What are some key things they should be thinking about or investing in?
That's a good question. One thing that I think matters more and more compared to what it did before is your content. So having content that's sufficiently interesting that people, they want to look at your brand rather than another brand. Because in many things that you would be selling online, you would typically have a lot of competitors. When we are in a watch category or a sunglass category or some food category, they have plenty of other businesses to choose from that is not ours. And I think being able to cut through the noise and actually be the one that people find interesting and want to buy from is a challenging task.
Because I think all of the different Blizzard brands, they are very editorialized, and it is beautiful sites to look at. So, and also their stories, they each have their own story of why they started. So definitely.
We think that this story is important, the content is important. It obviously goes without saying that the product needs to be good. If you don't have a good product, then you may get a little bit of customers in the beginning, but then that's it. So you definitely, good product goes without saying. Then one thing that we also like as a house is we like companies that have a strong CSR agenda. We believe that it's gonna go from something that just a few companies did to something that you need to be strong and have a right to play. So that's important. We also actually experience that the companies that we are part of that is deep on their CSR agenda. For example, we work with a company called Copenhagen Cartel that works with a lot of different fabrics that is very innovative in the way that they are working, so that they are using reused material to create their fabric and so on. And we see that the employees actually have a lot of pride also for working in these companies because they feel engaged, they see the purpose, they see the vision, and they are proud to be a part of that vision and journey. So we think that that's good. And then lastly, it's also the right thing to do, right?
Definitely. So how do you go and approach industry leaders and talk about these partnerships and get them on board to something that's so new?
One thing that is our model is we have a team that can set up ideas and sort of work with ideas, and then we have done it before. So I think there is some trust when we reach out to someone. There's a bit of track record saying that the things you did before, you actually know how to do things. So they are willing to trust based on the experience and what some of our other brands have done before. We are working with that, as you said, in Messy Weekend. We are coming out with a sunglass collection with one of the biggest YouTubers in the world. It's not public yet who it is, so I can't include all of it. But there we have something coming in our coffee business. That's actually not a business that was founded by us. That was founded by Emma Chamberlain. Emma is one of the world's most inspirational creatives out there. I think her content is absolutely phenomenal. And we have the pleasure of being able to help Emma in the machine room of the business and sort of helping bring her vision to life.
I think for me, I obviously know about Chamberlain Coffee, and I had to trace my steps back and finally link it back to you guys in Copenhagen and realize that Blizzard is helping to build her brand. So how did you guys be the team that she chooses?
That's a big question. I think that's maybe not for me to answer, but I think we understand the vision that Emma has, found a good chemistry in supporting the vision that she has and where she wants to take her brand. And then some experience in having done this before and supporting it because nobody can do everything as a one-man show. But I must say I'm really, really impressed about how many things Emma is incredibly good at.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you guys are now helping her turn those ideas into physical products and also successful products. I think she just won a Streamy for the creator product of the year, so congratulations to you guys for doing that as well. So
we're very excited around the work that we're able to help with there and find it a lot of fun and also find the vision of the brand. It's all organic. It's speaking to a young audience and doing coffee in a very different way than coffee has been done before. So I sometimes get a little bit surprised actually when I compare Chamberlain Coffee with many other brands out there, how different it is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Blizzard is a digital first house, but I see that Timberland Coffee has pop-ups, and it was recently in Erewhon, which is a very nice grocery store in LA. So have you guys been experimenting and expanding into retail with other brands? And what are some key steps that you guys are doing when you do retail experiments?
We are working with many of our brands in retail. Most of the things that we work with is born digital first. But we definitely still see retail as a super relevant channel and as something that is going to be meaningful as far as we can see in the future. It's still going to be a meaningful channel. So it's definitely something that we are also prioritizing. So in our watch brand, as an example, we have big retail presence in some of the Asian markets. We have a big retail presence in some of the European markets, and the same across many of our brands. So I would definitely think that many brands can benefit from being open to an omnichannel strategy.
Mm-hmm. For all of the different brands that you're looking at, I wanted to talk about the marketing aspect, and if there are universal marketing tactics or strategies that people can think about that would be helpful for when they're starting out to launch, or do you feel like it is more case by case and there are not a lot of universal factors to carry around?
I mean, I think there is something when you launch about trying to build a momentum and excitement for when the product is coming into the market. So doing what you can in getting people signed up to your email newsletter maybe before launching, so you are able to get some of those first sales when you go live, and starting that early. Also trying to get a bit of noise through other channels. That could be by maybe arranging with some influencers that you seed their product with them when you go live. It could be seeing, are you able to attract some PR when you go live, and exploit all of these tools that you can use to create a buzz. And then I would combine that buzz that you create then with ads. In particular, retargeting is in general more efficient than the top funnel, where you need to get new prospects to see your brand, and initially you may not have a lot of money. So when you launch a brand, so if you can combine some of these buzz creating activities with some retargeting spend, I think that's a good way to start with a smaller budget. Mm-hmm. If you have a bigger budget, then you can obviously hit prospecting much harder and go out more heavily, but trying to do these different things. And then I think doing something different. Every Instagram or Facebook user is seeing so many ads every week that just being another ad has become difficult to stand out in the crowd. So I would definitely think about how to go broader as a business in your scope and thinking of your go-to-market approach.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. On the flip side, you're also an investor on the Danish Shark Tank. So you also see a lot of pitches and you hear about a lot of businesses. What is it about different businesses that attract you to them, and what is actually the thing that you look for when you're ready to invest?
So a couple of different things. I have grown more and more fancy over time in terms of products, that things like repeat products is just, as it gets more and more expensive to market online, making sure that you get enough lifetime value of the customer in the category that you are in, just in my mind becomes increasingly important. Mm-hmm. In order to be able to pay for the cost of acquiring a customer. Then to me, it's all about the team. The team. When a business is early stage, it's really, really dependent on a few people. And if those people have the magic to make it happen, then there's a good chance that it becomes a good business. But in my mind, it is really, really people dependent. We have seen mediocre ideas become great because it was the right people that was behind it.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of how important teams are, how did you initially pick out your team? Because you mentioned one of them was your ex-colleague, and then another person that was also within the e-com space. So how were you able to determine, hey, this person is someone that I can take a big risk with and start building companies with?
Yeah, so Pascal, who was my colleague, we knew each other very, very well. And he came to me at one point and said, I'm thinking about leaving McKinsey to go out and start a company. What do you think about that? And would you maybe be interested in investing in it? And then I was working on the idea of Blazer at that point in time. And then I said to him, that's really interesting. I actually have an idea that goes along the same lines. Why don't we go out and start Blazer together? We quickly agreed that we thought that was a fun vision and then embarked on that journey. Then our third co-founder, Vasily, Pascal knew before. He was in the Hut Group, which is also a very big e-commerce company. He was excited about the vision also of coming in and building this platform to support new brands.
So I think outsider looking in, having a consultancy job, especially at a globally recognized firm, that is already lots of people's dream jobs. So I guess for you personally, why were you having this drive or I guess idea to say, you know what, I'm wanting to do something different?
That's a good question. I have always found it fascinating and had sort of a childhood dream of creating something and building something. So when I joined McKinsey, I felt like McKinsey is really, really interesting and I really, really enjoyed being in McKinsey, but I sort of had this feeling in my stomach that I hoped I would have the courage to go out and one day build my own. And therefore said to myself, you need to go out and do this at some point. I ended up being quite a few years with McKinsey and really enjoyed it there. So there was definitely also a scenario where I would have stayed. But just decided at some point that I needed to follow this dream.
And also, not to put more pressure on this question, but I feel like, again, viewing from the outside, you've had smooth sailing success story because you were a student at one of the top schools here in Denmark. You graduated early, you were able to have this job, and now you're able to build not just your dream company, but also a hub that allows other companies to grow for yourself. What, I guess, keeps you going forward? Because someone might have stopped at first company and they'll be like, this is great, I've built my dream company, but you've continued on that momentum.
A couple of things. First thing first, you said that it looks like smooth sailing. There's definitely a thing in startups that every week there is problems. And when you started the week, you typically didn't anticipate. You anticipated other problems than what actually became the problems that you needed to work with. So there's not a single week where our brands don't have issues to tackle. So this idea that you can sometimes get through the media that somebody just had a perfect 7-year journey where they started in point A and then they went straight line to point B, which was a success. I don't think that has ever happened. Every startup has struggles and has challenges, and ours definitely have had as well. So that's important to clear out, and I think that's also important for any listeners that are wanting to build a new business, that it is normal to face challenges in the journey and prepare for it.
Gotcha.
So that's one thing. Then in terms of what is giving energy and drive, I think I'm fascinated about building and sort of seeing things grow. I love when somebody comes to me with something that's maybe only a PowerPoint or something that's very early stage, and then seeing this small seed becoming a small plant that becomes a tree that gets bigger and bigger roots, and sort of taking the metaphor and saying it goes from being this PowerPoint idea to a prototype to a business that hires its first couple of employees to a business with 10, 20, 50, 100 employees. I just think that journey is really fascinating, and it's very rewarding to be able to see.
I wanted to ask about, having all these successful brands. I'm assuming the majority of them, they do grow out from Denmark, and globalization or cross-border selling is very important. So what are some things that you've done to make sure that being international becomes a little smoother?
So one thing we have done very actively is we have worked to recruit foreigners here in our office. So more than half of the people that work here is not Danish natives. They're coming from abroad. And the relevant thing and why we're doing that is because when we're entering a new market, having one or two people that is native to that market, understand the culture, understand what are the relevant medias to work with, what are the relevant payment gateways in those markets, what do people expect to see, we find really, really important in order to be able to localize the experience that you have on our international stores. We typically work with a model where we say for each country that we try to target, we hire a country manager that is then native to that country, that leads the efforts towards that market. And that's definitely a thing that I think has helped us with some of the international sales.
Are there any goals you have for yourself in the next chapter, or what are some future projects that you can share with us?
So we set up a small office in California. I think we're maybe going to do a little bit more business in the US compared to Europe going forward with that presence that we established overseas. Then I also think that some of these companies that we are in that is deep into the CSR space, I also find those really fascinating, and they have a special place close to my heart. So I hope that we will also get to find a couple more really, really cool mission-driven companies.
That's very exciting. And I think it makes a lot of sense because there is a huge hub of influencers and also social stars within America that might potentially be able to work with you guys as well. But also just, the startup scene and also the energy there within San Francisco. So that's very exciting to hear.
Yeah, we'll see what the future brings, but definitely some of these mission-driven companies, I hope we'll get a chance to find some of the right ones in that segment.
Amazing. I think I have indulged in all the questions I wanted to ask. Are there areas that are important or you feel like we haven't talked about that you want to highlight?
I think we have been covering a wide array of interesting things that you asked about. I think only thing really is to tell the newer entrepreneur that's listening to your podcast that failure is normal and happens to many new startups, and trying 1, 2, or 3 times is definitely all okay, and just best of luck to everybody out there sitting with their wonderful new business ideas.
No, I love that, and I think failure, as long as you keep working at it, could just become a hurdle and an interesting story you tell about your journey. It's only when you stop, then it becomes an actual failure. So, yeah. Of
course, failure is really, really painful for almost everyone when they are going through it. But it can be a learning path to what could then later become a success.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in into this episode of Shopify Masters. I'm Shuang, and if you enjoyed Christian's story of building multiple brands and Blazar Capital, leave a comment for Shopify Masters on your listening platform so the show can be discovered by others. Until next time on Shopify Masters.